my good friend Parker Short. How you doing,
I'm
Parker?
doing well. Good to see you, Congressman Johnson. Thank you for doing this. I
Well,
really
certainly.
appreciate the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you for agreeing to be on my show, and thank you everyone out there for joining us. We're just going to talk a little bit about what's been happening, and man, it's been a whirlwind. It's been a firestorm. It's been a fire hose unleashing torrents of uh, excrement
Hmm.
coming out of the straight out of the White House, through the office of Doge, and through Trump's own mouth. You know, when he was campaigning for election, he said he wanted to be a dictator on day one.
Hmm.
He's being that. There's no doubt about that. But he said that the system was broken, and that he was the only one that could fix it. And and he also said that he was going to lower the high cost of living. He was going to
Yeah.
do something as far as national security at our borders, and he was going to keep our communities safe. And it's been the
He,
great betrayal.
he's done the opposite, and you're absolutely right. In many ways, he did say he was going to be a dictator on day one, but he isn't delivering for Americans' pocketbooks. You know, he said recently that there's nothing he can do about inflation. And I think that's really hypocritical. You know, we saw the campaign. He blamed Joe Biden for the inflation, and now he doesn't want to do anything about it. And there's no eggs in many of the grocery stores, but he's blocking the CDC from releasing reports about the bird flu, and he's firing CDC workers that are in Atlanta, 1,300 CDC workers, probationary workers, anybody who's been hired, promoted, or given a raise in the past 2 years. Why are we firing some of our best scientists? And it shows how petty he truly is as a person. And a lot of excrement does come out of his mouth and his administration. I appreciate your frankness with that. One thing that I find just ridiculous is freedom of press is so important. I think we all acknowledge that. But he has blocked the Associated Press, one of the most nonpartisan, thoughtful press outlets out there, which supports local journalism all across the country and is widely read all around the world. He's blocked them from being in the Oval Office or in Air Force One because of a petty disagreement about the Gulf of America. He's more concerned with boosting his own ego than helping Americans' pocketbooks. And Elon Musk is a whole another conversation because he really is trying to, you said that Trump said he was the only one who could fix it. He said it was broken. He's the only one who could fix it. He's breaking it.
Man,
He's tearing the entire
he's
government apart. And
demolishing.
you hear the word state capture. I've heard a lot of media talk about this, about how Elon and Donald Trump are trying to tear apart as much of the government as they can, so billionaires and oligarchs like Elon Musk can get more control over the public sector. That's why they're firing all these workers, because they don't like, career civil servants making thoughtful decisions. They just want to boost their pocketbooks. They don't care about Americans and inflation.
Yeah, well, they they have a data bank compiled by the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 with the names of thousands of people who have signed up to replace these civil servants who are being fired wholesale
Hmm.
and indiscriminately. Um, and so, what they are seeking to do is to uh, actually demolish the American government as we know it, all of the agencies, the people that work there. It's a gross, unconstitutional, dictatorial
Hmm.
move that is being made. It's being perpetrated by Trump, but he's outsourced the effort to Elon Musk, who is a billionaire from South Africa and a couple of other countries that he claims citizenship uh, from. And this guy is stopping the spending of monies that have been allocated to federal agencies, monies that have been authorized and appropriated by Congress to be spent by the agencies to fulfill the agency's mandates. He is actually wholesale um, doing away with agencies, starting with the U.S. Agency for International Development, the nation's soft power, which we use to make friends and win over enemies. And instead, uh, you've you're hurting our farmers in addition to hurting the people in foreign countries who have depended on our assistance for food and medication. You're, $500 million worth of food that's rotting on piers across the world that could be being consumed by people and establishing America's goodwill across the world. And instead, this guy is threatening to take Panama, threatening to take Greenland, threatening to intervene in Iran, supporting Israel attacking Iran. He is talking about appropriating or annexing Canada to become the nation's 51st state. He's talking about invading Mexico, dropping bombs on drug clinics. Just when you talk about securing our borders, this
Hmm.
guy has been the worst thing that could happen to our national security, and it is really creating irreparable damage around the world. Trying to negotiate a ceasefire deal between Ukraine and
Hmm.
Russia, and Ukraine is not even at the table, and you are ceding,
Before
uh,
the negotiations even started,
you're
gave
ceding
up the whole
land. That's
gave
right.
up the whole thing. Horrible,
Yeah.
horrible. And on an international level, he's breaking every norm. But something that's horrible domestically, and you know this as a former judge, as one of the nation's leading advocates for court reform, he's attacking the separation of powers. He is saying that these offices established by Congress do not need congressional approval to be undone, which is completely false and unconstitutional and against the law. And then again, him and JD Vance are putting out all these statements saying that the president's power and the executive is more important and more powerful than the judicial, which is antithetical to everything that our Constitution and our rule of law is based on. I mean, he went to law school. JD Vance went to law school. He should know
He
about
knows
Marbury
better.
v. Madison.
Yeah.
It's an atrocious attack on everything that this country and our Constitution stands for, and they are truly just greedy, power-hungry individuals that are trying to cede the representation that I have as an American in Congress by folks like you. It's absolutely horrible, and it's authoritarian. I believe it was Andy Kim who the other day said we're on the verge of a constitutional crisis because they're openly assaulting our judiciary.
Well, it's no question about it. The judiciary, the United States Supreme Court in particular, is primarily responsible for disrupting the delicate system of checks and balances that existed between the three branches of government prior to its grant or conferral of immunity upon Donald Trump and any future president, criminal criminal immunity from prosecution for official acts.
Mhm.
What that ruling did while running out the clock on the Trump prosecutions was to send to Trump a signal that you are above the law and you are above the judicial and legislative
Mhm.
branches, Article 1 and Article 3 branches of government. Article 1, the legislative branch, is the branch that sets the nation's policies. The president, the executive branch, Article 2, carries out those policies or takes care that the laws be uh, passed by Congress be faithfully executed. And what Trump has done with this grant of immunity, where he feels like he can do anything with impunity, is to put him in a position where he can just simply ignore congressional intent. And he can, once he becomes president, just start misdirecting or redirecting spending, shutting down agencies that were established by Congress, and basically ignoring the will of Congress,
Hmm.
and in so doing, violating Article 2 of the Constitution. He is not taking care that the laws of the nation be faithfully executed. So he is doing so much that is unconstitutional. It, all of these matters, uh, over 70 lawsuits have been filed at this point. Many of them will reach the Supreme Court at some point in time. There, I can't depend on the Supreme Court to actually rule in accordance with constitutional dictates and norms that have been followed for the last 250 years. They're creating new concepts out of thin air, such as immunity from prosecution for the president. And so we can't count on the Supreme Court, though I hope that they do rule correctly and reestablish congressional authority and rebuke the president for what he has done and order him to undo what
Hmm.
he has done. But my fear, Parker, is that the president will be so intoxicated with power that he will decide that I will not follow your ruling. So come and enforce your ruling. Make me
Hmm.
do what you have ordered me to do, and then proceed to continue to do what he's doing. That is the point where our democracy is officially broken. And
Yeah.
we're rapidly getting to that point. And it's not an overstatement to say that, our democracy is under attack. And I don't want to say that it's on life support, but it's in critical condition.
No, that's a fair assessment. I mean, having the president and the vice president speaking this way is appalling. And I'm glad you bring up the Supreme Court because, we're talking about how which way they might rule and only hoping that they will stand up for the Constitution. But the court is a flawed institution. And one thing I really appreciate as a constituent is how you've advocated for court reform. And we have seen the Supreme Court have serious ethical violations repeatedly among their members, and members of Congress have pursued a ethics code. In regards to ethics, Elon Musk is pretty much as close to the president of the United States as he can be. He's standing over Donald Trump in the White House, holding court in a T-shirt with his child there.
And a
Um,
ball cap on in,
Absolutely
in
appalling.
the Oval Office.
It was such a sight to see because it really demonstrated the relationship of, Elon Musk had donated $250 million to get this man elected, and now he's using the government to serve his interest.
He was
And
in full control.
he does. And the State Department just gave a $400 million contract to Tesla. While they're trying to do all these government cuts, they're still giving ridiculous pork to Elon Musk because that makes the big business and Donald Trump happy. But
So
the
it's not about government
Mhm.
efficiency. It's about taking over government and then using taxpayer monies to pay yourself. And Donald Trump is getting a huge cut of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if you've seen this. This is a little bit more on the younger side, but they did this cryptocurrency. Melania and Donald Trump did a cryptocurrency when they got into office. They boosted it up millions of dollars and then they pulled out. And
Pump
it
and
really
dump.
pump and dump. It's like Bernie Madoff and a Ponzi scheme. They're out here committing financial crimes in the open. And now that Eric Adams serves Donald Trump's interest, they're no longer pursuing criminal charges against him. And it's really ridiculous the double standard that this administration has.
Yeah, the
Hmm.
politicization of the Department of Justice is astounding. It's an attack on the rule of law, which undergirds our democracy. And so we've got a DOJ under Pam Bondi that is ready to dismiss prosecutions against those who they favor, which means that it's not difficult to get to the concept that they will use their prosecutorial power to prosecute people for political purposes. And so that's another problem with all of that data that is being collected by Elon Musk and his band of young techies. Uh, they
Predict.
are they are accumulating this data, and they can use it for whatever purpose they deem necessary. We don't even know what data they have, but you may as well assume the worst, that all of your personal
Hmm.
data is now in the hands of a guy who runs one of the largest social media platforms that's operating today.
And
And
five radical 20-year-olds.
yeah,
It's appalling. And it's a clear national security threat. I'm concerned. I'm worried, and I've been organizing in the space for a long time, and I think, like everyone else, I'm ready to do the work to flip the house in 2026. But a lot of people ask me, and I'm curious what you have to say, because I really look up to you and I appreciate your consultation. How can people fight back against this? How can people organize? What can normal folks do to fight for their democracy in this moment?
yeah, more and more people, Parker, are taking it to the streets. I mean, who's going to save our democracy? It was the people who established democracy, and it will be the people who save this democracy. It won't be Congress, which is under
Hmm.
the leadership of compliant and submissive Republicans who are clapping and smiling and laughing
Yeah.
at everything that Trump does. They just roll over and let him rub their tummies, and they're fine. And uh, and so we can't depend on Republicans in the House or the Senate to stop this attack on our
Hmm.
democracy. And we really can't wait until 2026,
Yeah.
although 2026 is an important marker
Critical.
because we can reverse this thing if we still have the right to vote at that point. But we certainly need to be working towards
Hmm.
preserving that precious right to vote by going out into the streets and in peaceful
Yeah.
protests show that we're not going to lay down and take it like these members of Congress are doing. And it sends a powerful message to them that if you don't wake up, turn over and stand up and act like the men and women who were sent to Congress to do the people's business, um, and and to act like adults and
Hmm.
to wise up and understand what's happening to the rights of us all, it shows them uh, that the American people are not going to stand
Yeah.
for them laying down any longer, and they will lose in 2026 unless they start acting correctly. So these nonviolent, peaceful protests that continue to pop
Hmm.
up across the country. These are things that people can be supporting. It's also important that you support efforts with your pocketbook to send a message to corporations which are laying down like these Republican Congress people are doing the same thing they are doing, getting their tummies rubbed,
Yeah.
trying to hope for the best. But you can vote with your pocketbooks to send a message to those companies that we will no longer be
Hmm.
patronizing you because of the stances that you are taking. And we need to be organizing. And that's why it's so important to have young people like yourself out there, Parker, who continue to organize, continue to agitate, and continue to move those who refuse to be moved aside,
Hmm.
so that we can have a new day with fresh leadership, leadership of, by, and for the people in this country. It's time for a renewal, and that means everybody needs to get up, get out, and get into some trouble, good trouble.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, if you're from Atlanta, get up, get out, and do something. And I see very clearly, today there was a protest at the CDC of folks who have been fired. I mean, I live in your district. I have people who work at the CDC in my neighborhood, and using your voice and standing up is extraordinarily powerful. And I encourage people always to start locally when trying to build community power and to organize, to reach out to folks and make the difference. And if we're all in this together and we're all fighting and organizing and protesting and holding our elected officials accountable, we can make the difference. Because there is only a 3-seat majority in the House. So when your constituents raise hell and start calling you and letting you know how they feel, whether they've lost their Medicaid or their Social Security, it'll be very clear where the American people stand. I mean, I was a recipient of Social Security growing up, and I know that's almost a third rail of American politics. And as Donald Trump and Elon Musk act in this heartless, inconsiderate way, cutting government programs, they are upsetting the American people, affecting people's lives, and threatening, the public safety, the public health, and the economy in our country. It really is quite startling. So I've seen you doing a lot of work trying to fight back against the Trump administration. I've seen your press conferences. I'm just wondering what your approach is during this administration and what you're focused on legislatively.
Yeah, we've got to legislate, we've got to litigate, and we've got to motivate and mobilize. And so, from a legislative standpoint, I have joined a group that is working on, it's a task force that's working on judicial issues, making sure that we monitor and coordinate our activities with the outside stakeholders because litigation is very important. I'm supportive of all legislative efforts that are being filed by members of Congress to or Democratic members of
Mm-hmm.
Congress that would fix some of these openings that have been revealed by Trump and his misuse of authority.
Mm-hmm.
And so every crack and crevice that is uncovered that he could possibly seep into, we're trying to legislatively close those crevices and repair uh, our democracy as we move forward. And so legislation is very important. And then I'm supporting with my own boots on the ground, as well as others who are out there a whole lot more than I am. I'm supportive of their efforts, mobilizing on the ground, and together we fight and we will win. I have no doubt about that. So, Parker, I'm going to go ahead and sign off right now, but tell everybody how they can follow you.
Oh, Congressman Johnson, you are just too kind. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Y'all can follow me on Instagram at parker.short or on TikTok at parker_short. And make sure to follow Congressman Johnson. I'm really grateful to be represented by him in the 4th Congressional District, the liberal lion of Georgia. I'm really always so happy to talk to you. And please keep up the good work and keep holding the Republicans' feet to the fire. And we're going to fight this fight together, and we're going to win. This country will win with leaders like you holding Republicans accountable.
Parker, I appreciate you so much for all that you do to serve we the people. I look forward to continuing to serve with you in all capacities in which you are serving now and in which you seek to serve in the future. Your upside is unlimited, and I'm looking forward to seeing you as you continue to grow and move forward. You all out there, thank you all for being with us today. You can follow me at Rep. Hank Johnson on all of the platforms. And tonight at 7 o'clock, I'm doing a teletown hall meeting that's going to be uh, broadcast, if you will, or covered or streamed. That's the proper terminology. Streamed on all of the platforms. So y'all can tune in. And for everybody who's listening to us, send us a note after this. I haven't, of course, I can't read while I'm
Mm-hmm.
conducting this show, but send us something to let us know what you think of what we're doing. and we greatly appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Congressman.